What's up, everybody, and welcome to Growing Up Gaming, your weekly podcast where we meet a new person of the internet to discuss their childhood with gaming and how it inspired their lives today. My name is Mitch Power. Again, thank you guys so much for returning each and every week to the show. I hope you're subscribing there on iTunes or Google Play or Spotify or YouTube. If you're checking me out on any of those platforms or any other platforms, I greatly appreciate it. Again, don't forget to subscribe so that way you can get new episodes each and every Tuesday. This week on the show, we have our guest. His name is Alex Weber. He actually reached out to me after I was on the Best Friends Talk Funny podcast with Kyle Stevenson. Reached out, said he was a fan of the show and he wanted to be a guest, so I was glad to have him on. If you guys want to be on the show just like he was, send me a tweet at MitchPower1116 on Twitter or at the podcast Twitter page, which is at GUG Podcast on Twitter. Without further ado, let's get things started with Alex Weber. Do you remember what initially got you started playing games? Was it a family member? Was it a friend? Was it some magazine you saw at a store? Like, what got your interest started?
Well, for me, it was, I was born in 89, so, and I remember always having an NES in the house. I don't remember getting the NES, so I'm guessing it was there, at least in my early years. And we always had Mario 1, and so I remember playing that as a kid. And then what really blew it up was going to my cousins. They would babysit us in the summertime, and they had an NES, and they were older in their teens, so like they had jobs at McDonald's, so they would just buy all the games. So they had this big old box of games.
Nice. And
that's all we would do all day is just play NES, and playing Mario 3 with them. And I think they had a friend who had the strategy guide or some way, but they knew all the secrets, so they'd, walk me through all the secrets. So for as long as I can remember, I've always known the ins and outs of Mario 3, and that's just kind of been from there. I just fell in love with games, and it's been ever since.
I think it's funny, like, when you go to somebody's house and they have, like, a ton of NES games, you thought they were, like, rich. You're like, oh, my God, you have, like, all of these games. Because, like, I remember growing up, I didn't have too much money growing up, but I had maybe 6, 7 games, something like that, on any given time. Like, I would sometimes trade it in and go get a different game or whatever. I rented a ton of games back in the day, obviously, but, like, never owned too many games. But, like, if you went to somebody's house and they had, like, 20 or 30 NES games, you were like, oh my God.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
They always have the bad ones too.
Well, yeah, because I mean, like.
But that was the NES. You never knew.
I was going to say, yeah, that was the NES. You rolled the dice a lot. Yep. It's like, let's see if these are any good games. Very rarely did somebody have 20 or 30 games and all of them were like stellar, perfect games. Like,
oh, for sure. And then you play the good games like the Castlevanias and you're like, oh, this game's trash. I don't even know what I'm doing in this game.
Right.
Put Mario back in.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird because, like, I remember back then, obviously, like, if you had put an RPG, like Final Fantasy, in front of my face, I would have been like, this is stupid. You have to read? Like, who the fuck wants to read? Like, nobody wants to do that. Like, that's how I would have been. But meanwhile, Final Fantasy is, like, one of the games that's, like, most influential games and shit. And I'm just like, I wouldn't have liked it because I had to read too much.
That's how it was with all RPGs. It took me way too long to figure out that RPGs were good games. And it's like, just give me a game where I just, point at something and shoot or jump over something. I don't want to learn mechanics and do math.
Math? I'm not trying to fucking learn. I'm trying to play games. I do enough learning in school. This is bullshit. Yeah, like I did. The only game that got me interested into giving a shit to read more enough was Pokemon. Because like,
oh yeah,
because Pokemon was just awesome, and you were like, I don't care if I have to read. Like, this is cool. And I love how my favorite thing is now on some Pokemon. Like, I noticed this not the other day, but like last Pokemon game I got for my son. On the back of the game, it actually says, like, basic reading skills are needed to fully enjoy this game. I'm like,
really?
Wow, good job on you, Nintendo, because some mom might see that for their 4-year-old and go, my 4-year-old can't read. This might not be a good fit.
Oh, those cute animals. They'll like it.
Yeah, exactly. He'll just hit buttons and hope he works. Dude, if you can't read, you can't play RPGs. Like, sorry.
No, not at all.
Sorry, like, you kind of need to be able to read to be able to play an RPG. But yeah, when I read that on the back of a game, I was like, that's interesting, because I've never noticed that before. And I think Nintendo's the only company that's, like, nice enough to give a shit to even put that on the back of their box, because I don't know if they said it back in the day, to be honest. Like, I just noticed it on I think it was a DS game. Like, a DS or 3DS game is when I noticed it on the back of it. But I doubt, like, back then, I mean, they didn't even have ratings on games. Like, they didn't give a shit if the game came out. They're just like, figure it out. Go hit some buttons. Thanks.
It's not like you buy a Mass Effect on the back. It says, basic to intermediate reading levels.
Right, exactly.
Required.
Nope. It was just like, figure it out. And also, too, by the way, like, it's not like games were that complex back then either. I mean, yes, there was games that had reading, but I mean, like, you know, most of the games didn't have complicated mechanics of a game because there was 2 buttons and a D-pad.
Yep.
Like, what else? What are you going to do with that? You can't really get too crazy with that.
Just have to read your way through the menus and figure it out.
Yeah, exactly. That was also back when you actually had to look at, like, instruction manuals because there was no fucking tutorials. So It's like, how do you do anything in this game? You could figure it out or go read the instruction manual if you had one, because that was, like, the worst, you know, getting a game. Or I remember going to rent a game, and, like, on the back of the games, they used to have, or no, like, on the case for the game that you would rent, there was, like, kind of like a cliff notes of the instructions.
Yep.
But sometimes they were incomplete or not accurate. So you're like trying to do this button combo they're telling you to do. You're like, this is not fucking working. Like, and then you look at the actual instruction manual. You're like, oh, because they didn't put it down right.
Or renting games, you never knew if you were going to get an instruction booklet. So you had to find the one out of the 4 of the game that came with the instruction booklet.
Right.
And then you were lucky if it had all the pages.
Yeah, exactly. Because kids are assholes and just take things and like don't return. Like, how is that not part of any sort of like fee at a Blockbuster? How is that like must return with instruction manual intact? Because Blockbuster employees didn't give a shit. They'd open it up and go, games.
I remember we rented a some Looney Tunes game for Genesis, and I think it said it came with the instruction manual. We didn't get the instruction manual, so when we returned it, they assumed we kept the instruction manual.
That's bullshit.
And like months later, they came after us for a late fee for it, saying it was some kind of collector's like thing, and they wanted like an obscene amount of money for it. And my parents were on me like, "You have this instruction manual. Where did you put it?" And I was like, "I don't know. I'm a dumb kid. If I ever had it, it's gone. I don't know."
I like that. That's how you would respond. Mom, Dad, I'm a dumb kid. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know where any of it is. No,
it was
dude,
a crisis
I would
at the time.
Pissed. I'd be like, hey, like it would be like the double checking shit before you leave. Like, open that up. Does it have it? Does it not? You better mark that shit down that it didn't have it in there. Like, I'd be all over that, man. Did you ever have any like brothers and sisters growing up to play games with? Yeah,
I have a older brother. He's 2 years older than me, so we were real close. So
yeah,
that was nice. Where I always had a player too, and we'd always play through Mario in the early years, and then when we got to Genesis with Sonic, we'd always play that the 2 players, and I'd have to be Tails, and I'd be useless.
That's bullshit. That's bullshit. No, I mean, the cool thing, though, is at least you had a brother that was so close in age, because, like, some people, like, when it's 2 years difference, that's where I think it's, like, a sweet spot. Like, that's where it's cool. 3 years and then 4 years. I talked to some people on the show who's like, my older brother was, like, 8 years older than me. I'm like, holy shit. Like, like, dude, you're in kindergarten. He's about to go to high school. Like, that's such a difference in age. Like, you don't like the same things at all. Like, that's really rough. But also, too, you said Mario 2-player. Stop it. Mario was not 2-player. That shit was just taking turns.
That's true.
God. Yep. Mario 2-player is the biggest joke ever. Until they got to, like, New Super Mario Brothers, where you actually all played at the same time on a level. Like, 2-player Mario. You might as well just hand the controller back and forth. It's an insult to say that game had a 2-player mode.
It's the same thing with Sonic. The Sonic versus mode, where you would kind of race through the levels, but they weren't the exact levels as a single player. I was like, this just sucks. Let's just pass the controller back and forth.
But then I remember they had the Sonic levels where the 2-player, that was cool though during Sonic days, where like 2-player co-op was actually like 2-player co-op, and then Tails could like lift Sonic up and take him to other places. I was like, dude, this is awesome. But then the problem is you never wanted to be Tails.
No, not at all.
No one.
And then it was a race of, my older brother of, I'm going to go so fast you can't keep up with Tails. And then once you're off the screen, you're off the screen. I don't have to worry about you anymore.
Right. And then also, I remember like I think it was Sonic and Knuckles is where you could actually choose between like Sonic, Tails, or Knuckles.
Yeah.
So Knuckles you didn't fly. Have to be stuck with Tails. Cool. But yeah, I mean, at least, so one older brother. And then, of course, you had your cousins who you played games with. Quite a bit and everything.
Yeah.
So was it like, during school, like, your parents were like, all right, school's kind of like, while we work, school's your babysitter, but then during the summertime, it's like, cool, you got to go to your cousin's house now every day?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yep. Get dropped off at the cousin's and then spend all day there and just do do
and they're
whatever.
Not working at McDonald's.
Cousins make a little extra money. We get to play Nintendo all day long. It was pretty sweet.
Right. Yeah, dude. Well, again, that just feeds into that Nintendo habit, man. Get some more Nintendo games. So get,
for sure.
Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde or some terrible NES game.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's always fun. Were your parents pretty encouraging as far as when it comes to gaming? Did they get it just to kind of like, all right, here you go to be... Well, also, too, at the same time, you said you had it. The good thing is you had it in the house before you were even nagging about it. You know what I mean? You were like... Your brother was probably the one nagging to get one, and then he ended up getting one, and then you kind of reap the rewards of it. You're just like, cool. Like, it's already here. I don't have to fight with them to try to get this.
Yeah, and I remember my mom would play Mario quite a bit also,
Nice.
so I think she kind of bought it for herself. And then, after that, they were always encouraging about, as long as the chores got done and I got my homework done, then I could sit and play video games all day. But, we, in middle school we moved into this old farmhouse with acres and this big lawn, and we didn't have a riding lawnmower yet. So it was me and my brother on 2 push mowers mowing the lawn. And it was as soon as we finished mowing the lawn, we had to start over because it would start again. It'd be like 90 degrees, and my parents would always leave for work like, you have to mow the lawn today, and it's going to be 95, so get out there early, wake up early, and go mow the lawn. It's like, yeah, we'll sleep in.
That's like...
I was up till 3 in the morning playing freaking GameCube. I'm not going to wake up early and go mow the lawn.
Dude, that's child labor.
That's exactly what it was.
Definition of child labor.
And they weren't self-propelled mowers, and usually
God.
one of them wouldn't start. Their old garage sale things, but
Jesus.
Then we finally got a riding lawnmower, and then it was, now it's Dad's time to mow the lawn because he's got 4 cup holders on it, and he goes out there with a case of beer and zips around.
Nice. Dude, I remember I used to have to help my grandma do mow. My grandma is a great lady, but does some weird shit. Like she bought an acre of land, like that's just not near her house, right? An acre of land just to garden on. Like she didn't she had flowers and shit at her house, but she's like, I want to do vegetables, I want to do all these plants, but didn't have the room to do it at her house. And where we grew up in Illinois is such a dump that land was so cheap. So there's just this acre of land that's like probably 5-10 minutes from her house.
Okay.
She would just drive there and plant shit, and that was her garden. But yeah, she had a lawn there, and she's like, hey, I'll pay you $5 to go mow the lawn. And I was like, hey, that's a Star Wars figure. Let's go. And I could get on there. But the riding lawnmower was fine because, again, it was just practice driving a real car.
Well, it's fun, yeah.
Exactly. It's fun. Dude, I asked my son to go out and mow my little patch of grass that's not big at all on a self-propelled mower. And he's like, oh. I'm like, dude, you have no idea. I can't. 2 of you push mowers, not self-propelled.
Yeah, it was bad. It was child labor.
How long would it take you?
Oh, it'd be all the time. I mean, you'd be out there for hours. And then, eventually, when we first moved in, it was do the entire lawn.
Yeah.
And then eventually it was like, well, we never go over here, so let's let that grow out. We never go over here, we'll let that grow out. And then it got smaller and smaller.
Sure. Jeez. Yeah, no thanks.
But then it was, let's go inside to... I don't even think we had air conditioning. Open all the windows, and then then you don't want to do anything. I'm just going to sit here and play video games now.
Right. Yeah. No, the waking up early part of it. Where did you grow up in?
Minnesota.
Dude, so, I mean, I'm in Arizona, so, my son knows the definition of, I'm telling him, get your ass outside. It's going to be 100 something.
Yeah.
Get outside now. You'd have no clue. The only thing that's nice is the way our house sits. When the sun's going down, the backyard's shaded. So now he's got the excuse of
oh, yeah.
Hey, I'm going to wait until 6 o'clock and everything to go mow the lawn. So I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. However, the sun's been beating on it all day, so it's going to be real hot out there, but whatever. As long as it gets done. I'm in the same boat as your parents. As long as it gets done, I don't care. I just try to encourage you.
Yep.
Hey, go out there and do it. But I wouldn't torture my son by making him do an acre on a non-self-propelled mower. But you're right, dude. When you get the riding lawnmower, if you have 4 cup holders, dude, if I had that and headphones for a podcast, I'd fucking mow every lawn in the city.
Oh, for sure.
I'd be like, let's go.
Yep.
So, grew up in Minnesota. So the winter times were the opposite, where winter times were just frozen hell on earth.
Yep.
And you just hang out inside and play games.
Yeah, besides the long driveway to shovel, but yeah, more child labor. But
yeah,
you can't win in Minnesota.
Yeah. No, I grew up in Illinois, and during the winter times, it was because I moved to Arizona because I hate snow and I hate cold. Like, snow is only fun until you get wet, and then you're like, all right, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. Which would happen an hour into me doing anything outdoors in the snow, so I always hated it. But yeah, like, I mean, so during that time, though, that was where it was, I mean, you had to shovel the driveway, but then that was where your gaming time was. Like, you know, your parents, like, did your parents ever encourage you to, like, go outside and do outdoor activities, or were they kind of just like, whatever makes you happy, just kind of do that?
Yeah, they did for a while. And, you know, we were lucky enough. I suppose I'm not really painting my parents in a very good light, but when we were young, they gave us, like, BB guns and slingshots, like, hey, go out in the woods and go play with those for a while.
No, man, whatever.
So, yeah.
Hey,
it was all
we grew up in the 90s. Shit was different. Like, we didn't grow up where it's like, we didn't grow up where there's murderers and rapists on every corner, apparently, because, like, that's what we worry about now. No, like, we grew up where your parents were like, leave. Like, my dad, I remember my dad was literally looking at me. It's like 9 a.m. He's like, get the fuck out of the house and don't come back. I'm like, okay. Just leave and go do weird, like, shit or shit I shouldn't be doing. Or, you know, a lot of the times if it was like, hey, leave the house, I'd be like, all right, I would just go to my friend's house and play games there. Like, we did that too. So, you know, but yeah, I mean, back in the day it was different, man. Like, parents, I'm not going to say like I don't encourage my kids to go outside, because I still do, but where I'm at in Arizona, depending on what time of year it is, it's very different. Because, like, if it's 115 outside, I'm like, please stay inside. Like, I don't want you to die. Like, that's really fucking hot. Like, stay inside. But then during the wintertime, it's the exact opposite. Because here it's like 75, 80 degrees in December. And it's like, oh, nice. Dude, it's like 70 degrees. I'm like, dude, get outside. Go to the park. Like, it's so beautiful outside right now. Go do something. So, just depending on where you're at. Unless you're in California where it's gorgeous all year. Whatever.
Yeah. I think the Game Boy was the game changer for me, where I liked playing games, and my dad was the big hunter and fisherman, so it was, you know, he wanted to take me out to do that kind of stuff. And then once we got the Game Boy, it's like, well, can I bring my Game Boy? Because that's what I want to do. I don't want to, like, fishing is fun and all, but,
and it broke your dad's heart.
I'm playing Pokemon. I'm trying to level up this Bulbasaur right now. I can't be out there catching real fish. It's lame.
Right? Dude, I mean, I get that point, because, like, my grandma would do the same thing. My grandma would actually, like, dude, my grandma's such a hillbilly. She's so awesome, though. She'd be like, hey, let's go fishing. I'm like, all right, let's go fishing. But then the same thing, it was like, can I bring my Game Boy? And her rule was in the car. Like,
oh, there you go. Yep.
Car ride? Sure. When we're out there, you are not playing the damn Game Boy. I'm like, all right, that's fine. That makes sense. So I was going to say, so your mom actually played games, though, which is cool. So obviously, I mean, that was probably an easy get then. Like, if she played games, it probably wasn't too hard to convince the household to get an NES. Did your dad ever play games with you, or was he the outdoors dude who didn't really play games, really?
He tried a couple of times. He always liked the racing games. I have this fond memory of playing Mario Kart 64 with him for the first time.
Nice.
And we got to the level select screen, and I said, well, Dad, who do you want to be? And he pointed to Bowser, and he said, I want to be the horny guy.
Dude, that's the most dad answer I've ever heard, and that is awesome.
Yep.
That is great.
That was
like your dad. He's good people. That's great.
Oh, for sure.
That's so awesome. I want to be the horny guy. And, of course, you're a kid, and you're just like, what? And then,
yep, I didn't get it at the time.
And then your mom rolls her eyes so hard, like, Jesus, this guy. That's awesome. I'm going to say that next time, and I'm going to look at my wife as I do that. She's just going to go, The only problem is my kids are old enough now to know what that means, so they'll be like, ew.
Oh, then look at it even more.
Yeah, they'll give me the look even more. Oh, my God. That is the best answer I've ever heard. Oh, it's so good. But it's funny because, like, I've noticed now, like, most dads who aren't into gaming, it's like racing games or golf. Like, oh, yeah. I have had so many people, like, tell me their dad only played golf, and, like, that's it. Or racing. That's, like, the two things that they played. They didn't really play any other games.
Yep. And there was the random hunting and fishing game we'd get on the computer or something that he'd try out. There was one that you could actually go to Lake Mille Lacs, which is only like an hour from where we live. So, you know, he'd get on there and he'd know how to navigate it on the video game because he's been there before.
Funny. Yeah, I think the real big thing when the hunting games blew up was like Wii era, when the light gun games were just like shooting screen. Like, dude, I remember working at Best Buy, and like those hunting games sold so fucking many copies, and I was just like, I can't imagine. Like, if you had thought like this game sold out all the time, I wouldn't have believed you. But it sold out so much. It's just crazy. I mean, obviously, depending on where you are geographically, like I'm sure some hunting games sell way better in certain areas than others. Like, I can't imagine downtown LA a GameStop selling out of Cabela's hunting that often. But
probably not.
Probably not. But like, yeah, we used to sell it all the time. And I remember, you know, they had the light gun games in like the arcades and stuff, but when the Wii happened and like how it basically was the easiest light gun game ever, like that it was a light gun. Like the Wii controller was a light gun. So just adding an attachment to shoot, way easy. So
so they go into the bar and paying $1 a play on Big Buck Hunter. You could just play it on the Wii. And
oh yeah, dude. I remember people. Yeah, I would get people in there to buy Wii and then buy the Cabela's game, the Big Hunter game, like whatever options we had for the gun games. I was just like, all right. But then again, everyone and their mother bought a Wii, so
yeah.
I don't remember Wii or like hunting games. A lot of them on NES or anything like that. Just because like when you play a hunting game, using a D-pad and like a button to shoot, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not good.
It's not the same experience. Like those arcade ones are where it's at. PC games with a mouse keyboard, that's a little different. But like, yeah, nobody wants to fucking shoot games with like, at least hunting games like that. Cause hunting's about being quiet and like plotting where you shoot and hitting the right target and fucking hitting up and right to get there. Nobody wants to do that.
You don't want a game where you have to sit for 3 hours in a tree stand and freeze your butt off.
Yeah, exactly. That's way better than actually doing the real thing, but then the reward at the end is not in front of you. It's just a game. You're like, oh.
But do you remember that game from probably the late 90s? The, what was it? The Deer's Revenge or something along those lines, where you play as the deer and you hunt the hunters. I tried so hard to get my dad to buy that game. I thought he'd love it.
That's so awesome. Yeah, I remember that because it was just like, oh no, the deer has a shotgun and he's shooting hunters. I'm like,
yep.
All right then. There's nothing wrong with that.
What a concept.
Right? Exactly. But during the 90s, there was some crazy concept. I mean, dude, there was no rules. It felt like there was just like, whatever. You could play as this character doing this, and you're just like, okay. There was a game called Postal. Like,
oh, that's right. Postal.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, even though it's not that great of a game, like, look at that game. Look at Earthworm Jim. You play as an earthworm in a body. Like,
yep.
You know what I mean, dude? Like, they didn't give a shit back then, dude. There was all sorts of craziness going on. That was the 90s for you.
Oh, definitely.
Absolutely. So you had kind of mentioned earlier you went from NES and then you went to Genesis.
Yep. I was an unfortunate Genesis kid.
See, you say that, but I was a Genesis kid. And the thing is, we say unfortunate Genesis kid because we're looking back at history. But like, dude, Genesis was the shit back then, dude. Like, I don't care what you said. I love my Genesis. But yeah, when we look back on it, we're like, oh, Super Nintendo had really good games that are like still like best games ever made to this day. And most Genesis games, you can't say that. I don't regret getting a Genesis because, dude, Genesis was awesome back in the day. Like,
I think pretty much all we had for Genesis was Sonic 2. And then it was pretty much every time we'd go to rent a game, we'd go rent the Sonic and Knuckles cartridge.
Right.
So we could plug Sonic 2 into it and then play as Knuckles.
By the way, technical marvel. Like, holy shit, dude.
That's ridiculous.
That, like, the fact that was a thing back then. I mean, Sega just liked to stack shit also because they're fucking weird. So they had like CD and 32. They were just like, let's stack everything on this bitch. But like, Sonic and Knuckles, I remember like reading that in a magazine. Like, you could plug in. And by the way, it was 2 and 3, but not Sonic 1.
Yeah.
Don't know what was different.
Couldn't handle it.
But yeah, like Sonic 2, and then you're just Knuckles, and the levels were the same, and then like, it felt like, I don't know if they added extra parts to the levels, because, like, Knuckles could fly and climb up walls.
Yeah, you could get free lives that you couldn't get with Sonic.
Right, and then there was, like...
get up there.
Yeah, but, like, there were certain areas that I remember, like, how do you even get up there? If, like, I'm trying to think, like, did they add parts to levels because Knuckles was able to get to certain heights? Because, like, certain areas of the map, Sonic couldn't get up there, period. Maybe he could fly up there, actually. No, Tails could maybe have flown him up there. I don't know.
Not very, but the Tails flying was always super limited. You can only do it for so long, where Knuckles could climb indefinitely. So there were lives and stuff you could get that you couldn't get with Sonic. So I wonder if those were added in the Sonic and Knuckles cartridge, if there was just a different version of every level, or if it was in the Sonic 2 originally.
Yeah, I mean, like that was. I remember though, like when that happened, I was just like, "This is amazing." Like this is that's shit that like Genesis or that Super Nintendo was like not doing. Which good for Sega because they were trying everything to just like something unique, like doing something different. So, I mean, good for them. Like they. I mean,
could you imagine like a Mario cartridge that you plug in Mario 1, 2, and you can get the Tanuki tail from Mario 3 and fly all around like.
Right, like
ridiculous.
Yeah, like it's just kind of crazy that. They were able to do that. I don't know why it couldn't do Sonic 1 though. That was the only thing I was weirded out by. Like, what was so vastly different and everything. So as far as it goes with Genesis, do you remember? So you only had the one game, but you did a lot of rentals.
Yeah. Yep. So we rented, the Mortal Kombat. I think we might have owned Mortal Kombat 2 at some point. I'm kind of hazy on what we had. I know we only had a few games, but Sonic was the main one that, I still play. That's my biggest shame game because I've been playing that game my entire life and I've never beaten the final boss.
Wow.
And one of these days I'm going to sit down and just dedicate a day to doing nothing but playing that game.
Go get you that Sega console mini or Sega Genesis mini or whatever the fuck they're calling it. I don't remember what they're calling it. That thing, by the way, is looking better and better every day. Like, that Sega Genesis collection, even though, like, again, comparing it to the SNES Classic, like, I'm sorry, the SNES Classic might be the greatest collection of games ever.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Like, it's such, and for $80 for all of that is incredible. Like, you go buy a cartridge. One of those games could cost you $80. Like,
for sure.
To buy that whole collection for $80 is amazing. What I'm super pissed off by, and I don't understand, Nintendo could just make that whole collection a Switch cart.
Yeah.
And
or just add it to the Switch online even.
Of fucking copies. Like, you don't have to make the hardware. You don't have to ship another box. You could literally just go, here's all the games that are on the SNES Classic for $60. Even if you charged $80 for those games.
It's $80 and it comes with a SNES Joy-Con.
Yeah. Even if you didn't do that shit. Like, just, if you literally just said, here's $80, here's all these games on one Switch cart. And you can just play them on the Switch wherever you want. People would, even if they own an SNES Classic, they would buy that again just to have it portable. Like, it really, I don't get it, but again, Nintendo doesn't like money. I figured that out.
Well, they know how to make money.
Yeah, they know how to make money, but they also make a lot of fucking weird decisions on not to make money. Like, when they do, like, example, it's weird because, like, each company does shit different, right? So, my brother-in-law loves Nintendo. At the same time, he fucking hates them because they will have, like, a special edition game come out. And they literally make so few of them that if you're not, like, on the website the moment it goes live, in 5 minutes it's sold out and you'll never get one again.
Yep.
Microsoft does almost the opposite approach where they will say, here's what it is, and they'll make a lot, but they make a fuck ton of them to the point where it gets too many, and then, like, they go clearance, like, 6 months later because they're taking up shelves in the store.
Yep.
So it's, like, a problem, but, like, same thing with, like, Amiibos and shit. Like, they make so limited number of Amiibos, and then, like, then they just go on eBay and they sell. Like, you could make more of them and just sell them, and Nintendo pockets the money instead of all these collectors who are just buying it just to resell it on eBay.
Oh, exactly.
But, like, literally, if Nintendo was just like, hey, NES Classic, SNES Classic on a cart, $80 for the cart, no one would complain. No. I don't think a single person would bitch. And you could sell all the stuff that was on the SNES Classic again for $80 on a Switch.
Yep.
There's a free idea, Nintendo. Like, I don't know what the fuck you're messing up on. Like, they already have all the rights to the games. Like, you already got license agreements with those people to put those games on a box. Like, just, no. It's weird.
And ever since Virtual Console, they've been doing that where, you buy, I don't know how many times I've bought Mario 3 now. I bought it on the Wii Virtual Console. I bought it on my DS Virtual Console because for some reason it wouldn't carry over. They couldn't just say, hey, you own this game on Wii. You can play it on 3DS also. It's just... And then now with the Super Nintendo Classic, I bought an NES Classic just for freaking Mario 3. It's
right.
They've gotten so much money out of me, but I still love them.
That's how I have been with Mario 64. Because Mario 64 happened on 64. And then it happened on 3DS, or not 3DS, regular DS. It was a launch game. Like the Mario 64 remake. And then Virtual Console. Like, I've bought, every time that game has a version that can be purchased, I've bought it.
Yeah.
But also Mario 64 is goddamn, it's just such a good game. Like, that's just one of the best games ever made. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like, I just weird how they did that. But the classic console for SNES is nice. The Genesis one I was looking at, though, people were actually, like, not shitting on it, which is really nice and encouraging to hear. Because they were basically just saying how, like, apparently there's a super rare Mega Man game that's going to it. I didn't even know a Mega Man game was on Genesis. And
no, I didn't either.
Yeah, like, exactly. And I mean, if you look at the list that's on there right now, they still have more to announce, but like, basically all of the better games you can think of that were on Genesis are so far on this console, except for the only thing where it's going to get weird is they have Sonic 1, they have Sonic 2. Sonic 3 is the weird one because do you know about Michael Jackson, how he made music for Sonic 3?
No, I don't actually.
Yeah. So Sonic 3 is always the weird one because of the music rights and like getting the rights to the music. But like on this Genesis so far, they have Sonic 1, 2, Sonic Spinball, Vector Man, Streets of Rage, Golden Axe, and Shinobi, like Comic Zone, Echo the Dolphin, Toe Jam and Earl, Shining Force. Like they have like all the staples you can think of when you think of Genesis games. But apparently there was a Mega Man game. It's called the Wily Wars. I've never heard of it a day in my life. And then all of a sudden it got announced for the system. And then like there was articles that people were like, holy shit, like they're actually getting a really rare Mega Man game on this so you can play that. So, I mean, that's good for them because, you know, that'll just make this even better. But the only thing I'm still weirded out by is there's no 6-button controller. But the US version is 3-button. The Japanese version is 6-button because they hate America. I don't get it.
I remember having some 6 buttons, and then that was kind of when all the weird third-party controllers started with. I remember having a lot of turbo controllers for the Genesis and stuff like that. But I'm going to buy that console just to hold a controller again because the Super Nintendo Classic and Nintendo Classic, that's how they got me, was opening it up and pulling the plastic out of a brand new NES controller. I was like, oh, God, this is a feeling that I never thought I'd have again.
Dude, I still get that feeling when I open up something and it's got like plastic on it because you're like,
yeah.
It's so stupid. It's such a dumb thing. But like, example, right before I'm going on a trip for 2 weeks, right before I just bought my wife an iPad for like an early birthday / wedding anniversary gift. So she could enjoy it on the plane and watch movies and it's all bigger and shit. But like, I opened up an iPad and I like had the plastic on it and I peeled up the plastic on the iPad. I was like, that's cool.
So good.
That's so good. It's so good. It never gets old, but it's so good. But yeah, like on this, the Sega Genesis though, you can buy, I saw on, I think it was Amazon, they're selling like officially licensed Sega Genesis 6-button controllers that are just USB. So you can use them on the new console. But dude, yeah, why you gotta give me a 3-button, bro? Like, when you get your hands on like a 6-button, because it's like slightly smaller, especially for fighting games, like the 6-button was so much better.
Yep.
Like, so much better. Also,
much easier.
Think about this shit. Imagine if they ever did that now. Like, well, actually, in a way, they kind of did with, like, the Elite controller.
Yeah.
I was just about to say, I don't think they've done that in a long time, but then they did it with the Elite controller. Like, here's paddles.
Yep. Like, there's a lot of third-party controllers now, too, where you can swap, like, the D-pad and the joystick if you want and kind of customize it that way.
Yeah, like, they're definitely getting up there as far as, like, ways to customize it and things like that. But yeah, I was just about to say, like, imagine if a controller just came out and they're like, by the way, here's an Xbox controller, but it's got 6 more buttons.
Yeah.
3 more buttons. You'd be like, what the fuck? What are these 3 extra buttons do? Well, also, too, though, it's like, cool, how do I play games that require this on a 3-button? Oh, you can't.
Yep.
Oh.
You just can't do those 3 things.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you just can't. Dude, the internet would light them on fire. They'd be like,
for sure.
You motherfuckers, I gotta buy a new controller. I don't care what you say. I bought the Elite controller, and I'm like, so happy I did. It's such a good controller. Although, it seems unnecessary for certain games. Like, I only use it for shooters, really. Like, if I'm playing, like, a basic game, like, if I'm playing, like, Assassin's Creed, there's no need for an Elite controller, like, at all. However, if I'm playing Apex, I need it. Like, I don't feel right playing shooters without it, because, like, those extra paddles are considerably better, so. So, do you remember any particular games besides the Sonic games on Genesis that you played?
No, you said when you mentioned Streets of Rage that that was a game that we rented. You know, the Genesis I think was just a lot of every week go to the video store and rent a game, and then Streets of Rage we'd rent 4 weeks in a row and
right. You rented so much you could have just bought it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, those are always fun. So then did your brother continue with like staying in games? Like, did he ever fall out of games, or did you ever have a point in time where you ever fell out of gaming?
I'd say a little bit when I was older, with probably the late Xbox 360 era into the Xbox One era, because the Xbox One came out, and from everything I saw of it, I've been an Xbox guy since the start. And
shout out to Xbox people.
Yeah,
that's right.
We'll dial it back even more here. When I was like 12 or 13, mowing the lawn all day long,
right.
My brother had gotten his first job, and he was still into gaming at the time. So it was like he had disposable income all of a sudden.
Nice.
So he was buying systems, and then I kind of, I'd chip in with my little bit of allowance money here and there.
Money.
Yeah. And so I think we bought an Xbox at first because we went to a friend's house who had Halo, and he had the strategy guide. And so, like, me and my brother played co-op while he pretty much shepherded us through it with the strategy guide.
Right.
We fell in love with that, bought an Xbox, played Halo to death, and didn't find any other games for it. And then Kingdom Hearts all of a sudden came out, was blowing the world up. So we traded that in for a PS2 for Kingdom Hearts, played Kingdom Hearts to death, realized we didn't like that so much, traded that in for another Xbox because we missed Halo. And then from there it was just buying games over and over again. So I've been an Xbox guy ever since that. And then when the One came out, I didn't like too much of it, and I was like, well, I'll wait for Halo 5 to come out, because I don't even think the Master Chief Collection was announced at that time it came out.
No, like they announced it the year before 5 happened.
Yeah.
So we knew 5 was a thing because 4 had already happened on 360. So we knew 5 was going to be a thing. But like, I remember the other day I ran across like a Facebook post, and it was a thing I shared, like, I think it was it had to be 4 years ago. And it was like, rumor 1 through 4 getting remastered. And I was just like, please God, be real. And it was.
Oh my God. The Master Chief Collection pretty much broke me. And then it was like that. And then I think Batman Arkham Knight got announced around the same time. And I love the Arkham games. So I was like, well, now I have to buy the next gen system. I can't wait for a price drop anymore. So
right.
I'm going to get it. And then I ended up getting it with Titanfall.
Which, by the way, everybody who didn't buy it at launch bought it when Titanfall came out. Like, if you didn't buy like an Xbox One at launch, that like 3 or 4 month gap between like November and March, I don't think they sold. I mean, I'm sure they sold some, but then when Titanfall happened, that fucking sales figure shot up because that game. That game was like the driving force to buy an Xbox One at the time. Yeah.
It was now I have something, and then like as soon as I got it, they delayed Arkham Knight, I think, and then. So I had this Titanfall machine that wasn't backwards compatible at the time, so it just kind of sat there, and I was still just playing Halo 4 on 360. And I'd say that was the point where I was almost like, okay, I might be done with games. I'll just sit here and I'll play Halo 4 till the end of time, because this is never going to happen. And then finally Master Chief Collection came out, broken. So even then I had that game sitting there, and I was like, oh my God, come on. I guess I'll go back to Halo 4 now.
Dude, that was the saddest thing when you're like such a big Halo fan and Master Chief Collection gets announced and you're like, this is the greatest fucking day of my life, and you're so happy, and then that game comes out broke as can be, like just didn't work, like at all. Like, no, it was bad. You would search for games for hours and you'd be like, I can't find a game. I know people bought this. It's not like not like all of a sudden nobody bought this shit. Like, everyone and their mother bought it, and it didn't work. The only thing I'll applaud Microsoft on is they didn't give up on it. Like, even after
I love
5, and they went back and they redid the 4K shit, and then redid the entire revamp, the whole multiplayer, and like, I think they did that kind of for Game Pass purposes. Like, they want to make sure that when people get Game Pass, you can play all the Halo games proper. If they had put that broke-ass version of Master Chief Collection on Game Pass, that would have not been a good look. It would have been
terrible. Yep.
Right. So, no, I mean, I applaud them. I mean, good for them. I mean, they're still, like, when they announced... Dude, my friend lost his shit when it got announced for PC. He fucking freaked out. He's like... Because he kept saying, like, every E3, I'd be like... He's like, yo, you think Microsoft's finally going to announce Master Chief Collection for PC? I'm like, yeah, I think they will. And they wouldn't. And then all of a sudden, on an Inside Xbox, like, by the way... Here you go. And people, he was just like, he's losing his shit. But then they're adding reach to it. Like, they added ODST. Like, you literally could just get Game Pass and be, like, set for so long.
Oh, for sure. They made up for it. As bad of a taste as that left in my mouth. And then Halo 5 came out, and I was like, this is a Call of Duty game. This isn't a Halo game. I'm not into this. And then I did not at first, and now I love it. It took me years to
when
start
5
liking
and Warzone happened, I was fucking hooked. I loved Warzone. I was like, this is the shit. This is so good. Me and my buddy, dude, that's the second game most played on my Xbox was Halo 5 because, like, me and my buddy, my buddy in Illinois who I used to play with all the time, like, he happened to get off work the same time I got off work, and our wives weren't home at the time. Like, so, like, we had that, like, 2-hour buffer of, like, I'm off work, no wife, no family, whatever, everybody's in school or whatever, and we're just like, cool. And every day for, like, 2 hours, we were playing Halo and dude, Warzone. I have everything unlocked on 5. Like every single rec pack, every single rec card, everything unlocked. So yeah, it was that was definitely a special time. Like the Halo 5 was super fun. And my buddy, like the other day, just started playing it again out of nowhere, and he's just like, man, dude, this game is still fun. I'm like, yeah, like 5 was polished, dude. 5 was good. I get what you're saying though, where you were like, this is a Call of Duty game, because they did change up a lot of shit, but
yeah.
But I had a lot of fun with it.
I think I played the Warzone, and then I never gave it too much of a chance with all the cards, and I was like, there's microtransaction, there's these weird power-up cards, and it's not your regular arena shooter anymore. It's trying to be a game as a service, and I'm not big into that. But then now I started playing more of the competitive stuff, the ranked playlists, and the arena stuff. I'm like, okay, this game is fluid and great.
I think literally that was like the best mix of everything, because like the competitive I literally, out of all the Halo games, 5 was actually the most fun I had multiplayer. Like, even though 2 was so good at the time with online, and like 3 was really good, just 5, how you could go hardcore with competitive, and it was competitive as shit. Like, it was very much like hardcore Halo. Or you can go Warzone. And then when they did like Warzone firefight shit, like, it just had the mix of like everything. I didn't mind them doing the rec pack stuff only because they weren't charging you for DLC. So like when new shit came out, there was no like like Call of Duty still does it, which I don't get. Like the whole pay, like, there's season passes for games now, and I get that, like I'm not shitting on season passes, but like when you pay to have like content that's exclusive, so if you buy like the map pack and somebody else doesn't have it, they can't play with you. Like that's bullshit. Like that sucks. But the way that Halo 5 did it was like, no, we're not going to charge you for map packs or new maps or new things. Like we'll just charge you for these rec packs, which by the way worked out for them considerably, because
for sure,
like they were selling those probably way more than they would map packs for the game. So yeah, like I haven't played 5 in a while. But also at the same time, if a group of my buddies is like, dude, do you want to go do Warzone firefight? I'm like, fuck yeah, let's go. Warzone's awesome. So well, hopefully Infinite, is it Infinite or Infinity?
Infinite. Yeah.
Hopefully that I think that'll be. I mean, it's funny because we're talking before E3, so I'm sure this will be stupid. But if I'm right, somebody could go, "Hey, you were right." I'm thinking, obviously, that game will be launched for next gen Xbox next year fall. Like, I think that'll be like by the way, here's how fucking good games will look, and this will be a launch title for this new console. Like, that's my HK guess. Obviously, it'll still run on the old shit. They're not going to do that. They're not going to go as exclusive to the new console because Microsoft's already said, we're going to make games that work on all versions of Xbox, and I get that. But that'll be the game, like, when you get that on your next Xbox, you're going to go losing your mind over. So
yeah. And they put so much love into, between Master Chief Collection and Halo 5, they're still updating those games, and now I still read the weekly, like, update list that they put up, and it's crazy. So I know Infinite, they're going to make sure to do good by the fans on this one.
I'm still shocked at like how much they went back into Master Chief Collection after they fucked it up. Like, because they fucked it. The campaigns were never broken. It was just the multiplayer. I played through before 5 came out. I played 1 through 4, all the campaigns, and they were great. Halo 2 Anniversary is so beautiful.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
And those cutscenes are the best ever. Yeah. But then, I'm like, you go to play multiplayer, and it's just unfortunately broken. So back in the day, though, if games were broken, they were broken. Like.
Well, it brought me back to those days of, like, the early Xbox Live days where games really didn't work. Of, like, we had all these workarounds. Like, okay, I'm going to send you an invite for Master Chief Collection. You have to close the game, and you have to open it with the game closed, and then maybe you'll get in. Right. And then once you're in, don't move for a while we let it figure its stuff out. It's kind of like dealing with a wild animal. So it's kind of fun for a while, but When you wanted to play Halo, it wasn't fun.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the Halo 2 days, because I worked at a video game store when Halo 2 came out, and that shit was chaos. Like, there was just everyone and their mother bought it. Everyone and their mother played it online all the time. And that was back when, I won't say the good old days of online gaming, because, like, here's the only thing I'll say. Back then, online gaming was more accessible to adults. Yeah. Because you had to have broadband. You had to have, like, means to get broadband, because broadband wasn't everywhere at the time. So, like, people you were playing with, for the most part, were other adults closer to your age and not a bunch of 5-year-old kids. Yep. Now you get on, like, a game, and it could be 5-year-old Timmy who's just being an asshole, who's not, like, just not being fun and not being cool, or saying the worst things on the internet. But yeah, I mean, like, I remember back in those days, like, the online, also too, like, people would talk more only because party chat wasn't a thing.
Oh,
like, so
yeah.
You would hear,
I miss
like,
those days.
I do, which I mean, they still happen. I've been playing Apex, and if I, like, get in a room with randoms and they have mics, I'm like, cool, this actually reminds me of back in the day, because not everybody's, like, in a party with their buddies. But, I mean, you know, it's okay. We still have, I also, too, at the same time, thank God for party chat, so I don't have to hear everybody's loud music over their microphones.
That's like, true. Oh, my God, that was the worst. Sounded like somebody was at a freaking dubstep concert. It's like, dude, turn it off.
Dude.
Or buy a better mic.
You are fucking us all up because we cannot hear each other over your loud beats, dude. Turn the shit down. Like, please. So, you had mentioned before, though, like, you had Genesis, and then you went 64, though. So, did you ever get a PlayStation?
No.
Wow.
Well, except for that PlayStation 2 we got for Kingdom Hearts here and there. And, I think we got
PS1.
Nope. No PS1. Only at friends' houses we'd play some Crash Bandicoot here and there and whatever. But yeah, I've never been into the PlayStation. I haven't had, I had the PS2 for a brief period. Never had a PS3. Never had a PS4.
Wow.
So there was a point. What was it? Last year, 2 years ago. I went to a friend of mine. I said, "Hey, let me borrow your PS3 with the God of Wars and the Uncharted's, and I'll play through them." And then I think something else had come out at that time on Xbox, and it just sat in my closet for a couple weeks, and I was like, "Oh, you can have this back," because I'm not getting to it. So
I would definitely encourage, like, believe me, I am a big Xbox guy, right? But also at the same time, like, if you get a PS4 cheap with, like, because all the collections are basically on PS4 now. Like, you can get the God of War collections, you can get the Uncharted collections, you can get Last of Us, you can get, like, the best games that have happened at least in the last 2 generations on that console. Spider-Man, Horizon. And I'm not even talking about, like, because I'm not going to say I've gotten out of RPGs, but I don't have the time to play RPGs as much as I used to. So, like, I don't play the RPGs as much, but, like, a lot of people, like, that's the only thing that sucks about Xbox is, like, if you're a fan of JRPGs, you don't own an Xbox. Like, they just don't fucking come out for them. Like, unfortunately.
Exactly.
I get why, but, I mean, it's just, like, at the same time, but no, like, that's like, dude, because I remember I had 0 brand loyalty, like, up until Xbox happened. Like, I went from Nintendo to Genesis to PlayStation. Like, I didn't care about Saturn. I just was like, where are the cool games at? And, like, so you were talking about RPGs before, like, what? So did you not really get into RPGs then until, like, PS2 Xbox era?
Not even until
or like 360?
Because what it was for RPGs was that there was Fallout 3 and Mass Effect got me into RPGs.
Right.
Mass Effect was my girlfriend at the time. Her brother had gotten Mass Effect, and I liked Halo, of course, way too much. So she's like, "Well, it's a space game, and you'll like this game." Yeah. And she bought it for me, and I was like, you don't understand. It's an RPG. I don't like this. I'll have to, grind and level up and stuff."
Right.
But it was one of those, like, I'll begrudgingly play it, and then I got sucked into the story and got through it. And I was like, okay, maybe I like RPGs a little bit. And then with Fallout 3, is at a time I had rented. I had a Wii and a 360. I had rented We Love Golf on the Nintendo Wii, and I was expecting to fall in love with that game because it was made by the same people who made Mario Golf Toadstool Tour on the GameCube, and I love that game so much. So I was like, I'm going to love this game. It's on Wii. Like, I was head over heels in love with motion controls in a way that was probably dangerous.
Right.
And that game was just trash. So I went to that and Fallout 3 at the same time, and so I had 7 days with Fallout 3 and, like, I think my work schedule, I think I was still working part-time at the time, a dumb teenager, so I had all kinds of free time. And so it's like, I'm just going to play Fallout 3 and just slugged through the first, like, 5 hours. And I was like, I don't like this game, but I have nothing else to do right now. Right. And then eventually it just grabbed me, and I was like, all right, I need to buy this game, and I need to 100% this game now.
Jesus. 100%ing a Fallout game sounds like the worst day of my life. Like, that sounds awful. Like, I'm not shitting on Fallout games.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
That game, as big as it is, as long as it would take, I would rather play 7 other games and beat those in the time it would take to do that. But I'm right there with you, Fallout, because, like, I prefer guns. And
Yeah.
I, like, for example, Skyrim, I was not a fan. And again,
Nope.
I'm not shitting on Skyrim as a game. I don't like medieval shit. Like,
Yep.
that whole time period of, like, dragons and elves and orgs and fuck off. Like, I don't like any of that shit. Hence why I didn't watch Game of Thrones. Not shitting on Game of Thrones. I just don't like that time period, so I don't watch that shit. But, like, when Fallout, like, I didn't play Fallout. I had Fallout 3, but I never really got into it because, again, there was, like, other shit I was playing. But then I got Fallout 4, and, yeah, Fallout 4 is fun. Everybody tells us, like, New Vegas is better. You know, Fallout 4. Like, there were things about Fallout 4 I did not like the whole base building shit.
Yeah.
Like, I fucking hated all of that. I could not stand it. I'm like, I don't care to build this base or build this wall or build this generator or build this. Like, when they forced you to do it in the game for those missions, I was fine with it for that. But for that to be, like, a big part of, like, oh, here's all the cool things you can do, I just didn't care to do it. My son, on the other hand, loves the shit out of it. Like, he loves to be able to build, like, a base and have all these weapons and have all these, like, he loves the shit out of that. But again, that's speaking to, like, they basically got that generation of gamers who played Minecraft.
Yeah.
And this is more like mature Minecraft where you could,
Yep.
So it's not even like mining stuff, but just like finding loot and then building shit from it. Like, it's basically what they did, which worked for them. But, like, yeah, that was the part that I was like, less of this would be fine with me. Whereas my son, I go in my son's room and he's built the craziest shit. And I'm just like, that's cool. I mean, as long as it doesn't break your Xbox. Cause, like,
yeah,
dude,
it's a lot of stuff to load in.
A lot of stuff to load in, bro. And he's got an OG Xbox One, like, not an S or X, or I'm like, dude, I'm sure your Xbox is going to catch fire while you start doing this shit. Like, that's not good. But no, I mean, that's crazy you missed out on PS1 though. Like, to think about all the good, but by the way, don't buy a PlayStation Classic. That thing is fucking trash.
No.
Like, dude, I can't even imagine not playing PlayStation 1. Like, I can't fathom. Like, Metal Gear.
Yep.
Jesus Christ, Metal Gear. Like, I experienced Metal Gear when it came out, and it was just, like, mind-blowing. It was, like, storytelling that I've never seen, and, like, it had voice acting, and it had, like, just, like, holy shit, this game is amazing.
Yep.
And again, you can play Metal Gear Twin Snakes, and it's, like, still a great game, but, like, yeah, don't go buy that PlayStation Classic, though. Don't.
Exactly.
That thing... How did Sony fuck that up so badly? Dude, did you know, and again, we're recording this like May 26th. At Target right now, through their Cartwheel app, you can get a PlayStation Classic for $26.
Yeah.
That thing used to be $100 in December. They're trying to just get rid of every bit of stock they have. They don't want that shit on their shelves anymore. Like, it's just real sad. But I mean, that thing could have been as great as an SNES Classic. Like, it really could have, but yeah, I don't know, man. Like, it's just, it was a bad look. So you played a lot of 64. So as far as games on that goes, a lot of, you said Mario Kart with your dad winning the horny character, which is fucking still fun. What else do you remember playing on that particularly?
And that was weird too. And this is probably why I never got into RPGs was I never owned Mario 64, never owned Zelda, Ocarina of Time, or Majora's Mask. So N64 for me was Mario Kart, Smash Brothers. What else did we have? We didn't have a whole lot of games. We didn't even have Donkey Kong 64.
I mean, the other thing too, though, is like those are the types of games that have such replay value that, like, you know what I mean? Like, that was the good thing about N64 that PlayStation suffered from was like multiplayer shit. Like, that system was made because it had the 4 control ports. So like that system, multiplayer was going to be always better than PlayStation. Whereas PlayStation focused hard on the single player shit. That was where like the big difference was. But I mean, I don't think there was necessarily a good or bad thing when it comes. It just depends on the types of games you played. Because like you're right though, like even if you played Zelda in all those games, like the options of RPGs on 64 was almost none. Like there weren't many. Whereas PlayStation had one come out like every fucking week.
Yeah.
Like every week there was a JRPG that came out, which is bananas. Like, but also too though is like your GoldenEye experiences, your Perfect Dark, your Mario Karts. Like, you weren't getting those on PlayStation like you were on N64. So, also those wrestling games were the shit.
Oh, that's what I forgot. Wrestling games and the Tony Hawk games were the other two that we had.
Yeah, dude. Like, I will always say the wrestling. I had a PlayStation, and every time I went to a buddy's house who had a 64, I was like, please tell me you have No Mercy.
Yeah.
Like, please tell me you have No Mercy or WrestleMania 2000 or something. Cause every time I went to my buddy, cause I didn't have a 64 until late in its life cycle, but like, if my buddy was like, hey, I got an N64, my decision to stay over the house over the weekend was, do you have No Mercy? Like, that was like a question I asked. And like, if he said yes, I was like, I'm staying the night at your house all weekend. If it's not, I'm like, I don't know. But no, like, that system, again, what's funny is like, me and my buddies had PlayStations, but like, we played single player games just taking turns, like Resident Evils, Silent Hill, Metal Gears, just doing all those like over and over, just beating out who could beat it faster, who could beat it without damage, who could beat it without looking at, just there was like all these things that we would do. And it was weird because had we had like an N64, we could have been doing GoldenEye, all of us together.
Yep.
But that's like you missed out on PS1. I missed out on like all the N64 multiplayer shit. Like the Mario Karts, GoldenEye, Perfect Dark. I never played those. So, I mean, it's not crazy to say like you missed PS1 because I missed. If I told somebody I missed GoldenEye, they'd be like, "Oh my god, dude, you missed out on." So again, I just didn't know about it. But I mean, so then obviously like you played fucking console roulette in PS2 Xbox generation. I knew people that did that though. I knew people that would like. Halo was obviously the decision for Xbox, right?
Yeah.
Like if you bought an Xbox, you fucking bought it for Halo. But then like. Again, I would get people that would trade it in and get a PS2 for whatever. Yeah, I worked at the game store during that time, and then you would get them turn around and come back and trade it back in for Halo 2. Like, it was so crazy. And then the only thing I will say is a common thread: people would bounce back and forth between those two, but then had a GameCube.
Oh yeah, the GameCube.
Because like
that's exactly how we were too. We had a GameCube, and we stuck with that freaking GameCube.
See, I never got into like Smash or any of those until GameCube. Like. Because I didn't have a Super Nintendo. I didn't have a 64 until super late. So, like, Smash, Mario Kart. I played Mario World on Super Nintendo and Mario 64 at buddies' houses and shit. But, like, I'm sorry, Sunshine is also a very great game. Like, there's a lot of just good shit on GameCube. And I remember it was always funny because it was like, console wars back then was like PS2, Xbox. But then it was like, bitch, everybody's got a GameCube. Like, everybody loves Smash. Like, you didn't have a GameCube. There was something wrong. You're like, dude, why don't you have Melee right now? Like, that was my introduction to Smash Brothers was, Melee. And,
oh, it's the best.
Dude, it was so good. Yeah. I was just like, this game is, dude, I remember when I saw how good that game was, I already had a GameCube, but I was like, I need 4 Wavebirds now.
Yep.
And like, I had a New Year's Eve party where it was like drinking game, playing Smash. Whoever got knocked off had to take a drink. And then the bad part is that I had buddies who showed up who wanted to get drunk and they would just jump off the fucking map on their own. I'm like, God damn it, at least play.
You can sit in the back and drink if you want.
Right, exactly. Just sit in the back and drink. Like, we're trying to have a competition here. But yeah, I had buddies that were like, cool, I'll play, and just fucking walk off the edge of the map every time. I'm like, just drink. You don't have to do that. We're trying to play games here. But no, like that was like said for me though. I didn't get into any of the Nintendo shit till GameCube, but I at that time though, during that generation when I worked at the game store, I had all of them. So like, I could experience kind of all of the above. But you didn't go PS3, which I'm not going to say makes sense, but a lot of people that generation were hesitant just because of how fucking expensive it was compared to 360.
Yep.
Like it was just so much more money. So did you ever do online multiplayer on the original Xbox?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
That was Halo 2 launch day. I convinced my mom to let me take that day off school. Nice. And I rode my bike to GameStop, and they wouldn't sell it to me because it was mature and I was 15.
Right. I was
so pissed.
I knew how that story was going to work because I used to work at the game store and tell kids all the time, go get your parents.
Yeah, so I had to call my mom, like, Mom, take your lunch break. Let's go to GameStop. I need this game. And we were lucky enough to have high-speed internet at the time, so nice. I got onto Halo 2's multiplayer, and that probably destroyed my life because Halo 2 and Halo 3, I almost dropped out of high school senior year because of Halo 3.
Oh my god!
So the time one of my friends from high school was living with me because he had a falling out with his parents, and we kind of took him in. So we would just stay up till 6 a.m. every night playing Halo 3 and Halo 2, and then it'd get to be, let's go to school or should we go to sleep? It's like, let's go to sleep. Or else you go to sleep at 3 and then all of a sudden it's like, well, I woke up and he's not waking up, so I guess I'll go back to bed, or else vice versa. And it's bad.
Wow. I mean, I will say Halo 2 was the game that I played online every day, regardless of birthdays or anniversaries or holiday.
Yep.
I didn't give a shit. I was like, cool, it's our anniversary. Girlfriend, now wife at the time. I'm like, oh, it's our anniversary. Cool. We'll go to dinner. And then after that, I'm playing Halo.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't give a shit. Oh, it's Christmas morning. We're going to go see your family. Cool. I'm going to play Halo 2 before we go to your family's house. Like, I didn't miss a day for an entire year. I was so obsessed with it. Also, kids, I didn't have a gaggle of kids and shit around, so it made things slightly easier. The only thing that was cool is that it got to a point where I had my own TV in my living room. My wife had her TV. So, my wife would just sit there and watch her shit while I'm playing Halo, so she didn't play Halo at all.
Yelling at 12-year-olds.
Yeah, exactly. Dude, but like I said, that back in that generation, though, it felt like there was more adults online. Because again, broadband internet was not an easy get. It was so expensive to convince parents to get dial-up just for that. It was hard as shit for little kids. But if you're an adult with a job, you could get broadband and be like, no, I'm this. And I remember playing games with people I felt like were my own age. But then when 360 happened, dude, Jesus Christ, it was just I'm talking to 8-year-olds all the time. This sucks. Thank God for Party Chat when that shit happened, though. I was like, God, I don't want to hear you guys at all. Dude, I can tell you right now, if I had an 8-year-old who ever said all of those awful things that I was told by an 8-year-old back then, I would slap the shit out of my kid. I don't care if it's not, nope. I got called the N-word from an 8-year-old more in my life than anyone should ever. I'm sorry, just, you are raising just the worst people on earth if you just let your kid get away with that shit. I when my kids went online, I was very strict. I was like, because thankfully settings allow me to be strict. I can go in there and say, you can't talk to randoms, you can't add friends, you can't, I can go in there and do all of that. So I tell my son all the time, if I see my son playing online, I'm like, you better be in a party with your friends. I do not want you hearing the worst things in the world.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm sure you and your friends might be saying it, but you're saying it to each other. I don't want someone else calling you these things. I don't want a random who you don't know calling you just the worst shit ever. So, but yeah.
I was totally that 15-year-old kid. And I was a late bloomer, so my balls hadn't dropped yet. And it was I was on there just saying the worst. So there were times when I was worried, because we lived in an apartment at the time. I was worried the cops were going to get called because I'm just screaming. Just terrible things.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Screaming entirely things. Cool. My neighbors got pissed off at us, when I had the house, because we had a surround sound system. And dude, that grenade going out, think, 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 boom, fucking walls shaking. Dude, I remember one time they just thought it was us. I was at work. My wife was there, on her break, hanging out with me. And then she got a call from our apartment complex saying, you need to turn your shit down. I'm like, we're not home. I don't know what you're talking about. But they just assumed it was us because of all the loud shit that I have. That was before, awesome gaming headsets were a thing, when it was just fuck it. Plug in a goddamn surround sound speaker and just, make it sound like Afghanistan in your apartment.
Exactly.
Just the word. It sounded just awful in there. So you, as far as it goes, you're continuing, you got 360. You got a Wii, which then you got that Wii game, the golf game, which...
Oh, yeah.
What made Mario Golf awesome? Mario. Sorry. That's what made it better.
But that Wii game had this awful thing, and I was just talking to a friend about this week, where, it was motion control, so you swing the club up to swing the golf club. And the motion controls were so bad, you do that, and then this little annoying voice would come over the Wiimote speaker, right in your ear, and say, pull the club back to take a swing. You're like, I'm doing it right now. Shut up. It was every time. It happened 4 or 5 times. I was I threw my Wiimote. I'm I'm playing Fallout. I'm done with this.
Bullshit. Dude, by the way, that speaker on that Wii remote, when you don't know it's there and that shit makes noise the first time, you're like, what the fuck was that? Oh my God. That dude, I remember I had and I've told this story before, but you heard it on Kyle's show, but when I bought that Wii over the 360, and I was just dude, this is weird. There's just so much weird shit that 360 didn't have. The remote had the speaker. But, dude, if a game yelled at me through that speaker, I'd be super pissed. I'd be yell at me through the TV at least. Have some goddamn pride. Don't yell at me through this tinny little speaker on the goddamn Wii remote. That thing was terrible. So, as you were growing up and everything, now you have Xbox One. Mm-hmm. Do you have a Switch?
Yeah, I had a Switch,
okay. Yeah, and then no PS4 though.
No PS4.
Okay. I would say like for sure if you catch a Black Friday sale like $199 with something, dude, there's some good shit on PlayStation that deserves to be played. And I've said this before as well on my show. I'm a huge Xbox fan. I love my Xbox so much. The last 2 years, my game of the years have been PlayStation games.
Yep.
And it's like,
I know I'm missing.
Yeah, those are the shit you're missing. Like, now I would 100% say buying a PS3, even at $299, there's enough shit on PlayStation, especially if you haven't experienced like any of the God of Wars, any of the Uncharted's.
Yeah.
There is worth buying a PlayStation 4, like absolutely. But again, like, dude, when they did that Black Friday sale, $199 with Spider-Man, I'm like, holy shit! Like, that's so good because Spider-Man's literally one of the best games in the console. Like, and some people get weird or pissed when I say this. I think Spider-Man's the best superhero game ever. I actually think it's better than the Batman games, and I'm not even shitting on the Batman games. They're great, but Spider-Man's just insane. It's just so good. Like, I love it to death. So, if people wanted to check you out on the internet now and see all the things you're doing today, I mean, obviously you got a green screen and all this shit that people can't see. Where would they go check you out at?
You can watch me on Twitch, twitch.tv/suburbaniteslab. I stream. Actually, I just changed my hours for the summer because things are getting crazy. So every Sunday, 5 p.m. to 9 p.m., and then every Wednesday, 7:30 to 9:30. And I'm always streaming in between, too. I'm not too strict on that. Those are like the minimum times I stream. And those are Central Time, obviously, because I'm in Minnesota. Otherwise, Twitter, @TheAlexanderWebb. Or if you just search for Suburbanite Slab, you'll find me. If it's not a Dennis Leary lyric and you search for Suburbanite Slab, you'll find me somewhere.
What have you been streaming a lot lately?
Well, I got the Super Nintendo Classic, so I've been going through all the games that I missed because I was a dumb Genesis kid.
That's such a good, especially if you're experiencing for the first time. That's fucking great. Yeah.
Lately, it's been A Link to the Past.
Oh my god!
I've been playing that and getting frustrated. Those Zelda games are just, hey, you missed one thing, so now you wandered around for 8 hours, then you figured it out. But
yeah,
there's a switch on the wall. It didn't look quite like a switch, so you walked into the room and
like
laughed.
Breath of the Wild, where you could just do that game however fucking way you want to.
Exactly.
Like, yeah, the back of the day though, those Zelda games definitely relied on you doing things in a very particular order.
Yep.
Man, dude, even if you look back, and you mentioned Game Boy too, like even the Game Boy games were great too. Like I remember Minish Cap and like the Seasons
Link's Awakening, and that was
Link's Awakening.
That was the game as a kid where I had it and I'd play it for hours on end and get nowhere. It'd just be, maybe I'll figure it out today, or maybe I'll just wander around and kill chickens for 3 hours.
Yeah, exactly. And then, dude, that Link's Awakening remake for Switch looks so
excited.
Good. Like, good job.
Consume my life.
Yes, exactly. I can't wait for that. Before we go, I forgot to ask you the question. Usually, like you said, you get to the point where you get your own money and you save it up for own games, and you're hyped for a game, and then it comes out, and then it's kind of shitty. Can you think of the worst game you bought with your own money?
I've been trying to think of it, and there were so many bad games in the Wii era too.
Oh my god, yeah, there were.
And there was a point between GameCube and Wii that I just bought every piece of crap that came out. And so I'm trying to think of the worst one. And I think I'm just going to throw out a weird one. On GameCube, there was this game. I should make sure I'm actually got the title right. I think it was called Lost Kingdom. But it was in the days of...
Lost Kingdom's on GameCube.
Yeah, in the days of card battlers. And at the time, I was playing Magic the Gathering and whatnot. So I was like, oh, this game has like Magic the Gathering elements. And I bought that game and I played it way too much for a bad game. And it was one of those games I spent $50 on. And it was like, even if you bring it to GameStop, they're like, yeah, we'll give you like $2 for this because nobody knows what it is. Like, well, I guess I'll just play it and beat it then. Even though it's terrible.
You like hate played it. You're like, fuck.
Yep.
I can't get rid of this game because I'll get nothing for it. I remember the cover of that game. Just from the game store. I'm a very visual person. Like if people are like, do you remember so-and-so? I'm like, no. But then if I see a picture, I'm like, oh yeah, that's exactly like this game. Like this game reminds me of like, I remember seeing the cover for sure. Never played it though, but it was a card. I'm looking at screenshots of it now.
Yeah.
Like a card-based battle game. That looks weird.
Like Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories. I bought that game too for Game Boy Advance. And
I'm a big
Kingdom Hearts game. I haven't played a Kingdom Hearts game. And
right. And it's Card Battler, and it was weird because it was like real-time card battle. Oh, it was weird. The weird one, the Card Battlers, though, Phantom Dust, that's where it's fucking...
I never heard of that one.
So, Phantom Dust was a Japanese-developed original Xbox game. And it was essentially like you built a deck of moves, essentially.
Okay.
And you could play certain moves as long as you had the power to do it. But it was like $20 day one. So it was like a cheap game day one. And I remember everybody was like, oh, it's trash because it's $20. But I remember picking it up, playing it. I was like, this game is fucking awesome. And it was only $20. And people who like were in the know were like, no, you don't realize how good this game is. When people just saw it and saw $20, they just thought bargain bin, shitty game, didn't care. Yep. But like, it was great. And then it got to a point where they did a re-release. Because like initially it was one of those like Xbox One, like, oh, we're going to re-release this game. And people were like, if you were, like I said, if you were one of those hardcore original Xbox people and you knew that game was good, people were like, holy shit, this is going to be great. Yep. And I don't know if they've scrapped the idea of the complete remake, but they did a remaster of the original Xbox version for Xbox One.
Oh, okay.
And I'm almost positive it was free.
I have to look into that.
But yeah, like it was, like on Metacritic, right here, for example, it got like a 73, but like Google users, 94% liked it. Like,
okay.
It's a fun ass game, and I'm almost positive it's free on Xbox One. If you play it now, it feels dated because like graphically and the menus are just like, ugh, this very much reminds me of an original Xbox game. But dude, it was so fun. It was just such a cool game. Like if you look at gameplay of it, like it's just different. It's like a different type of game that I had never played before, but hopefully one day, right here it is. Yeah, Phantom Dust Remaster out tomorrow will be free. Yeah, so it is free. Nice. You can check it out again. If you play it, like, here's the thing though. As somebody who played it in the past, I'm like, yes, this game is great. Now, if you have never played it and you start picking it up today and you play it, you're like, this is rough. Like this is like, ugh.
I'm sure it's still got those old. I was kind of looking at images too as you said it, and it looks like it has those old camera angles that are never quite
the old
right.
Camera angles, the old men. Dude, when you go to the menus, you're like, God damn, this is an Xbox game. Like an OG Xbox game. This is so old, man. So yeah, I mean, no, like, dude, the Lost Kingdoms, and they made a second one.
Did they make a second one?
They did. Lost Kingdoms 2.
Good thing I never bought that. That might be the worst one I ever bought.
That's one of them, man. I mean, again, like, I remember the Card Battlers, though, because I played Pokemon, like, religiously. And then I remember, like, as I was at the comic book shop all the time, they were like, hey, Magic's awesome. You should check out Magic. And I remember playing Magic. I remember playing, like, a WWE card game, which was horrible. I remember playing a Dragon Ball Z card game. Yeah, that was like not bad, but I wasn't into like Dragon Ball Z, so I didn't really care as much. But yeah, video games. I remember definitely getting the Pokemon trading card game for Game Boy. I remember playing that.
Yep.
The Magic games on the new consoles aren't terrible. Like,
they're good.
Yeah, like they're still pretty good, but like, this game.
Yu-Gi-Oh games. I got into Yu-Gi-Oh when that first started.
Right.
And let me tell you, as a 16-year-old kid playing Yu-Gi-Oh against a bunch of 12-year-olds.
Yeah.
Oh, you were a god.
You were a god among men.
Like, I'm going to play this card because it's on the TV show. You're like, that game's trash.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it uses on the TV show doesn't mean it's good.
I still love when, like, card games back in the day, I felt so bad. This kid had, like, one Pokemon card, and I had, like, another one. Like, his card was rarer than mine, but he thought my card was better because it had more HP.
Yep.
He's like, oh, your card obviously is a better card. I'm like, yeah, let's trade.
Yeah.
Like, it's not my fault you're stupid and don't know shit. Like, thank you, bye.
The only fight I ever got into in my life was over a Pokemon card trade because we might have taken it. We traded a kid at 200 cards for a Charizard, and he was just happy to have 200 cards. And
right.
Then his older cousin was mad about it.
You know how cards and shit. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, though, I call those life lessons.
Exactly.
I call those know your shit, kid, before you just start. Dude. Yeah, we could go into a whole other episode about card games, but we'll say that for another day. Well, dude, thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you for sharing all your stories with me, man. And I'll have links in the show notes for all the above so you can check out all of these things. So, again, man, thank you so much.
Thank you. It was a blast.
All right, and again, thank you, Alex, for being on the show. Guys, if you want to check him out on Twitter, go ahead and follow him at @TheAlexanderWebb. You can also follow him, twitch.tv/SuburbaniteSlob. Guys, if you want to be on the show just like he was, send me a tweet at MitchPower1116 on Twitter or at the podcast Twitter page, which is at GUG Podcast on Twitter. We also have a Facebook group. You can go search up that on, just search up Growing Up Gaming, as well as a YouTube channel. Just search up GUG Podcast on YouTube and the website gugpodcast.com. Guys, thank you guys so much for returning each and every week to the show. Again, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you get new episodes every Tuesday. Don't forget to share it with your buddies. Help get the word out to get more people interested in the show, more people out there listening, more people want to share their stories. I love doing this show for that reason. So thank you guys so much for returning each and every week. I will chat with you guys later. See ya.